Hey team, what's going on? I don't know if you caught it, but the other day I did a video about an ethical dilemma, and this was about the Met. But it involved, it was a completely different story, but it did involve the Sackler family. Now, if you're not familiar with who the Sackler family is, well, they are the people who founded Purdue, and they are the people who make OxyContin. That's right. And here we are taking a look at this here article from Vanity Fair, and it says, "We didn't cause the crisis," David Sackler pleads. His case on the opioid epidemic. If you're not understanding what's going on, why we're talking about this today, check out this article from the Washington Post. As more museums say no to Sackler donations, Family Trust halts its giving. Wow, that's huge. Okay, so in the article I had in this previous video, check the arrow, the card for that video. It talked about how the Sacklers had tried to give money to the Metropolitan Art Museum, and Met was like, "No, thank you. You are part of the opioid crisis." Oh, yeah, people went crazy, and they thought it was such a ethical step. You know, it was very principled on their part. But is it fair? Is it fair? And in case you don't know, let's find out how this whole thing works. So, if you're sick or not feeling well or in pain, you go and see a doctor. That doctor then writes you a prescription, which you then take to a pharmacy. Okay, well that was fun. See how I mean? So there are two levels of separation, two levels of control before it even gets to the pharmaceutical manufacturer. All right, in order for a prescription drug to be abused, especially Schedule 2, you have to have a doctor who's prescribing it, you have to have a patient who's abusing it, and on top of it, you have to have a pharmacy that's distributing it. Now, if you wanted to go ahead and say that pharmacy could never have given it to that doctor, who could never give it to that patient if it wasn't being manufactured by somebody else, but that's not a fair comparison either, because that drug has a very legitimate use, I know lots of people who are on OxyContin who need it every day for their pain. So, this article goes on to say, facing rejection from three major art museums, the philanthropic trust of the Sackler family, which built its wealth from the sale of opioids, announced that it would stop making donations. It says here the Guggenheim in New York became the third cultural institution, the first in the United States, and that's it wasn't the Met, it was the Guggenheim, apparently. It announced that it would not accept money from the Sacklers. London's National Portrait Gallery, which that article was about as well, and the Tate galleries. They would no longer take money from the Sacklers, and because of all the lawsuits, the Sacklers aren't the only. They're going to stop doing a whole bunch of stuff. Like what, you may ask? Well, let's find out. Here's the Sackler Trust and the sciences. Let's take a look what they do for the sciences. The University of Glasgow, brain imaging. No
more money. Moorfield Eye Hospital, no more money. Institute of Mental Health, no more money. Let's go up and take a look at the arts, because that's important for us, right? For all those museums are no longer going to get any kind of money, so they're not going to have exhibits, new exhibits. They're not going to have space for hanging new exhibits. You know, so the museums are out. But you know how many people, artists, get grants from them? Like, for instance, the Ballet Black, whatever that is, no more money for you. Mountain View Academy, well, sadly, they can no longer see the mountain because they ain't getting paid no more. Let's go to education. The Studio-214 Trust is a charity that seeks to stimulate social transformation in local communities, and their main initiative SPEAR supports disadvantaged 16 to 24-year-olds in education and employment are trained to find long-term employment. No more money for you. Let's go take another one. Environment. The Phylogenetics Laboratory. Well, that's a long name, so it must be good. The Sackler Trust has funded the laboratory and informatics infrastructure necessary for the projects to be delivered. So this project will generate high, they're about sequencing data at high. Because the left got it in their minds, the Sackler family, the people who in the pharmaceutical company Purdue, somehow have a responsibility because of the OxyContin abuse. Now, if you're telling me they lied, and you're telling me they put out bad science and made scientists come out and say that, and publish studies that said that this is not addictive and not harmful, well, you have to be a fool, and your doctor's a fool. This is an opioid. No one ever thought anything different. It's always been Schedule 2, and a Schedule 2 drug means two things. The only difference between a Schedule 1 drug, which is illegal, and a Schedule 2, which is not,
is that there's a medically accepted use. Both have a very high potential for addiction. That same exact thing. But the thing that brings you from a Schedule 1 and being illegal to a Schedule 2 is that there's a medical use. Well, there is a huge medical use for pain management, especially when people are going into a type of pain that can't be alleviated and they get used to the regular opioids. Any number of them, man. Oxycodone, Percocets, those types of the still Schedule 2 ones, but the codeines. Sometimes when you're in such great pain, you need more, and that's where OxyContin comes in. That's where fentanyl comes in. And is it being abused? Yes, but is it the people who have 3 levels of insulation between them? First off, you have to have a patient who wants to abuse it. You got to have a doctor who's willing to overlook their duties as a doctor to prescribe it, and then third, you've got to have a pharmacy that's going to look the other way for these huge out of proportion prescriptions these doctors are writing per patient. So, does Purdue have some type of should they have looked at the numbers and said, "Hey, wait a minute, that doesn't seem right"? Probably, maybe. Does it lie on them? Because you can't go to a pharmaceutical company and buy drugs. You have to go through a doctor who has to go through a pharmacy who then you can get the drugs from. The whole point of this is, however you land on it, the problem. Oh, look at this one. Prisoners Education Trust. No more education for prisoners for this money for this program. They give tens of millions of dollars away every year to people in need. They give grants out to artists, and all that is gone. They give scholarships to medical students. They give money to medical school. A lot of people get rich, and then they feel bad about how they got rich, and so they look at all the money they've made, and they try to give it away to alleviate their guilt. Is that the Sacklers? I don't know. I don't think that's all of them. I think there are also other people that look at how much they've been given and how blessed they are, and they want to give it back. Is that the Sacklers? I don't know. The point is, it's illegal for anyone to go into the examination room and find out what's happening between a doctor and his patient. So the law doesn't allow Purdue to investigate the treatment plans of doctors. That's not what they do. That's not their job. Their job is to make and manufacture drugs and sell them to licensed distributors, pharmacies. That's what their job is. And that is secure. There's no problem with that. So the problem is that all this money is going away because people are trying to find a scapegoat. People are trying to play their victim card, like, oh, it's not my fault I'm addicted. Well, yes, sir. Yes, I'm sorry, it is. Now there are some people, like I knew a guy who was in the military, and he got hurt in combat and got put on a bunch of opioids, got addicted, and ruined his life. Is it his fault? Yes, it's still his fault. He needed to get treatment and he refused to. If you're addicted to opioids, you need to get treatment. It's not an okay thing to be. You're going to ruin your life. And it's your fault. I'm sorry, brother. No one strapped you down and made you take that stuff over and over and over again. If they did, let me know about it, 'cause that's jacked up. And then I'll say it's not your fault. But for right now, you're not a victim. Victim of circumstances, what does that mean? We're all that. The thing is, you can't point your finger at the deep pockets and say, you've got deep pockets, it's your fault, because this is the consequences. What do you all think? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.